Good evening one and all. I welcome you all to Ganesh IAS Academy. In today's session, we'll be seeing environment-based current affairs from August 17 to August 24, 2023. Let us get into the news articles one by one. Okay. So the first news for the day is reversal of decision to establish integrated regional offices. And this decision was taken by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. And what was the initial proposal and why have they reversed the decision? Those details we must have to understand, and what are all the bodies involved in it? Those details we must have to know. Okay, so let us get into the details of it. Recently, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change reversed its decision to establish integrated regional offices. So they have decided to create or establish an integrated regional office by merging certain environmental bodies. Okay, so what are those environmental bodies? We'll understand in a short while. And what was the initial proposal and when was this proposal made? It was made during COVID-19 lockdown. And what was the aim? The aim was to bring together Forest Survey of India, the first body, National Tiger Conservation Authority, second one, Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, and then the last one is Central Zoo Authority. So these four bodies were proposed to integrate it. Okay, the ministry has have proposed to integrate these bodies. Okay, so the ministry sought to bring all these bodies under a unified structure. Okay, but then now it has taken back its decision. Why has it taken back its decision? Because this particular integration has certain drawbacks, and many environmentalists and conservationists have raised their concerns and they have criticized this initiation, this proposal. Okay, so why have they taken back the decision and what were the criticisms? Those we have to understand. And this move was intended to streamline operations and create a single point of authority. That was the aim behind the initial proposal. But then what were the criticisms? First thing is, it would undermine the independence and authority of these bodies. These four bodies have their own autonomy and authority. When they are integrated together, there are many chances that their autonomy and authority get spoiled. Okay, it may be disturbed because they have different mandates and roles in environmental governance. Okay, all these bodies are working in different areas and they are expert in different areas. When they are amalgamated together, it is not a good thing. Okay, next is it would create administrative confusion and chaos. Obviously, as these bodies are different, have different reporting structures and jurisdictions. Yes, as we saw earlier, these bodies have different jurisdictions. Their area of working is different. Okay, next is it would compromise the quality and credibility of their work. How? Because they will be subjected to political interference and pressure from Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Okay, so all these bodies were proposed to be under this ministry. So when it is under a ministry, there are many chances that they may face political interference, which will hamper their working, the normal day-to-day working. Next is, it would dilute the focus and expertise of these bodies. Yes, this also we discussed just now, that each and every body that was mentioned in the previous slide have certain focus areas and expertise, and they are specialized and skilled in doing certain tasks, and they have their respective domains. When it is integrated or brought together, then this will be disturbed. Okay, so these were the criticisms posed by environmentalists and conservationists. That is the reason why the ministry has taken back its decision. And yes, reversal of decision was made. So in the recent notification, in the reversal notification, what they have said is they are going to scrap the merger plan. Yes, that is a good thing, but they suggested rearranging the current regional offices. Currently, there are certain regional offices for environment related purposes. So now the ministry in this reversal decision has said that they are going to rearrange the regional offices. But this decision again is facing criticism now. Okay, so for example, Bengaluru regional office will be having jurisdiction for 3 states and 1 union territory. What are the states? Karnataka, Kerala, Goa and the union territory Lakshadweep. Okay, but these states and union territories, when we see, they have different geography and environment, but they are clubbed together under this decision, which is again being criticized by environmentalists. Okay, next there are also other concerns raised over the recent plan to merge Project Elephant and Project Tiger. These two projects are working in different area and they have their own autonomy, but when they are brought together again, it will be a problematic situation. Okay, so that is the concern which has been raised recently. So this is the condition as of now. This decision may also be taken back in later period due to pressure from environmentalists. So from exam point of view, what do we have to understand? We must have to understand the bodies which are mentioned there, their background. Okay, a little about their background will be sufficient. Okay, Forest Survey of India, the first body that was there, it is a governmental agency responsible for conducting surveys, assessments and related researches for forest. Okay, Forest Survey of India, they conduct forest surveys, assessments and also other related researches, and this Forest Survey of India replaced an erstwhile body called as Pre-Investment Survey of Forest Resources. Okay, and FSI is an initiative of Indian government which was established in the year 1965 with assistance from FAO and UNDP. What is FAO? Food and Agriculture Organization, and UNDP is United Nations Development Program. These two organizations are assisting Forest Survey of India. Next is India's State of Forest Report. We all know about this report, which gives information about the forest cover and tree cover of India, and this is a biennial publication. This is also important. We have seen this in multiple sessions. It is a biennial report, which means it will be released once in 2 years. Okay, and this publication is made by Forest Survey of India. Okay, moving on to the next body, National Tiger Conservation Authority. It is a statutory body. What is statutory body here? Any body which has been created based on a legislation, based on an act, that is called as statutory body, and it has been established under Wildlife Protection Act. Like we saw, it is a statutory body only when it is established based on an act and a legislation of Parliament or State Assembly. Okay, so Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, under this act only this NTCA has been established. And when was it established? In the year 2005, and it is based on the recommendations of the Tiger Task Force. Okay, and this body is responsible for managing Project Tigers and all the other tiger reserves in India. Presently we have 53 tiger reserves in India. Next, Union Environment Minister is the chairperson of NTCA and state ministers will be vice chairman. All these details are important from your exam point of view. The next body is Wildlife Crime Control Bureau. Okay, like the name suggests, it is there to combat organized wildlife crime in the country. Okay, so wildlife is facing a lot of issues like illegal trade, poaching and other things. So this body will be taking care to control such illegal trade and poaching, and it is again a statutory body and it has multidisciplinary roles. Okay, so when we say it is a statutory body, it must be under an act, that is the same act, Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, and the bureau has its headquarters in New Delhi, and it advised the government of India relating to wildlife crimes having national and international ramifications. Certain wildlife crimes will have national and international ramifications, and this body will be advising India in those areas, and it will also advise for relevant policies and laws to be made to control illegal poaching of animals. Next is, it also assists and advises the Customs Authority. See here, Customs Authority we have. Customs Authority means import export. Okay, so if there is illegal trade, then these bodies will also come into the picture, and this body will, Wildlife Crime Control Bureau will be helping in inspection of consignments of flora and fauna as per the provisions of Wildlife Protection Act, CITES, and also EXIM policy, okay, export import policy. And then CITES, we all know CITES very well. In multiple classes we have discussed this, that is Convention on International Trade of Flora and Fauna, endangered species of flora and fauna, okay. So that is CITES. Next, the last body is Central Zoo Authority. It is again a statutory body under Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, and it regulate and monitor the functioning of zoological parks in India, okay. And apart from the primary function of granting recognition, this is the body which grants recognition that this is a zoological park, okay. This area will be maintained by this zoological park, and all those recognition will be given by this Central Zoo Authority. And apart from that, it also regulates the exchange of animals of endangered category listed under Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 of Wildlife Protection Act. This point is very important from exam point of view. Next, the Environment Minister is the chairperson of Central Zoo Authority. So each of these statements can be asked in your prelims directly, okay. So it is very important to have a look at it. Next, the next topic for the day is Minamata Convention on Mercury. What is this Minamata Convention on Mercury? Why is it in the news? All those details we must have to understand. We'll be studying in detail about mercury as a metal, or it is both a metal and non-metal, okay. Such distinctions are there for mercury, okay. We'll understand all those. Minamata Convention. 6th anniversary of Minamata Convention is being observed this year, and this reminds us of the global efforts to combat the toxic effects of mercury, okay. So mercury has toxic effects, and that is why to control these toxic effects and also to control the use of mercury, they have this convention, Minamata Convention. So on this occasion, United Nations Environment Program reflects on the ongoing campaign. This United Nations Environment Program has a particular initiative, a program which is being run by United Nations Environment Program, and we'll see about the program in the upcoming slides. And this campaign aims to eradicate the use of mercury in small scale gold mining, okay. So this is the place where maximum of anthropogenic mercury is being used, okay. So small scale gold mining, we'll see all those details. So this practice, despite its economic significance, which practice are they mentioning here? It is the gold mining, okay. Though gold mining has its economic significance, but it poses severe risk to human health and also environmental health. So they are taking certain steps to avoid such environmental problems and health issues of human beings. Let us understand about the background of Minamata Convention. So this convention is on mercury, and it is a global treaty to protect human health and environment from adverse effects of mercury. So if there is a question like what is Minamata Convention, then this should be our answer, that is to protect human health and environment from adverse effects of mercury, okay, and also its compounds. Next, it was agreed at the 5th session of Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee in Geneva, Switzerland in the year 2030, but then it came into force in the year 2017. That is the reason why we are celebrating 6th anniversary this year, okay. 2013 it was established, and 2017 it came into force, okay. Next, controlling the anthropogenic release of mercury throughout its life cycle is the key obligation of this convention. So anthropogenic release of mercury has to be controlled. That is the key objective or obligation of this particular convention. Next, mercury pollution. Okay, so in this convention they are particularly addressing mercury pollution, right? So we have to understand what is mercury pollution and from where mercury is sourced. Okay, what are the sources of mercury, that we need to know. Mercury is naturally occurring material in Earth's crust. Yes, but World Health Organization has considered this mercury as one of the top 10 chemicals or group of chemicals of major public health concern. Okay. Next, what are the sources of mercury pollution? There are natural sources like volcanic eruption and erosion of rocks. Okay. So when there is volcanic eruption, there will be release of small amounts of mercury, and also when there is erosion of rocks and soil, it can release mercury into water bodies. Okay. So these are the natural things, natural sources. But then there are multiple anthropogenic sources, that is human made, man-made sources. The first thing is artisanal and small scale gold mining, which we saw in the first slide. Okay. So artisanal and small scale gold mining, ASGM, it is the main source of mercury pollution, where mercury is used to extract gold from its ore. Okay. So how is this process done? Mercury will be used to extract gold particles from ore, and there will be amalgams created. What are amalgams? Amalgams are like mixtures, blends. Okay. So amalgams will be created, and later when it is heated, this mercury will be evaporated, and then the gold will be left behind. Okay. So this is how they are going to extract gold. And then artisanal gold mining operations are responsible for 37% of global mercury pollution. Such facts are important. You can use these in your answer writing also. Next, industrial processes. Not only artisanal, small scale and gold mining, there are other industrial processes like chlorine production, cement manufacturing, waste incineration, where mercury is emitted, and particularly cement industry is responsible for around 11% of global anthropogenic mercury release. And then there are waste disposals. We all know that fluorescent bulbs and batteries will be having mercury as one of its components in it, and when these electronic waste are disposed of in landfills or in some other water bodies, then it may lead to contamination, and there will be leaching of this mercury into the environment. So these are the anthropogenic sources of mercury. Next is, what are all the associated impacts? When there is mercury pollution, there will be impact of mercury pollution, right? What are the associated impacts of mercury pollution? First thing is, there is a process called biomagnification. What is biomagnification? We need to understand. See here, there is a particular chemical called methyl mercury. So this methyl mercury accumulates in aquatic organisms like fish. Okay, and when we people come in contact with mercury, this methyl mercury, by consuming these fishes which are already infected or which are already high in these toxins, methyl mercury. Say for example, these are the food sources that we have. We humans have food sources like plants, fishes or any other animals like this. And when these plants, fishes and animals are contaminated with toxins already, and when we are going to consume these, humans will be having accumulation of these toxins. Okay, this process is called as biomagnification. Okay, so we people come in contact to these methyl mercury through consumption of fish and shellfish. Okay, next, this compound carries higher risk of Minamata disease. Okay, so what is Minamata disease? It is a disease which is characterized by sensory impairment, tremors, and both auditory and visual defects. Okay, both auditory and visual defects will happen, and also there will be tremors experienced, and also sensory impairments may also happen. It is due to exposure to this particular chemical called methyl mercury. Okay, this illness was initially observed in the residents of Minamata Bay. Where is Minamata Bay located? It is in Japan. That is the reason why this disease has been named as Minamata disease. Okay, so the people in this area, I mean in Minamata area, have consumed mercury contaminated fish. Okay, because mercury was already contaminated in water. Industrial waste pollution has occurred. Okay, So this point is important. There are two compounds, that is methyl mercury and ethyl mercury, but they both are not same. They are different. Very significantly, they are different because methyl mercury is linked to health issues. Just we saw here that it is linked to health issues, but then ethyl mercury is utilized as a preservative in certain vaccines and it is not associated with any health concerns. Okay, so this distinction you must have to know. Methyl mercury is a toxin whereas ethyl mercury is a preservative. This distinction you must have to understand. Such tricky questions may be asked. What are all the applications of mercury? First thing is they are used in thermometers and barometers. This we might have seen. Okay, everyone might have seen this. Mercury thermometers and mercury barometers. That we are using mercury in these thermometers and barometers because of its high coefficient of thermal expansion and also its easy visibility. We must have to see rise in I mean we have seen, right, there is rise in mercury and then lowering in its, it comes down and goes up, that is easy visibility, and it also has high coefficient of thermal expansion, making it suitable for use in traditional thermometers and barometers. And like we saw in the previous slides, it is used in chemical and mining processes, in gold mining processes, and then in chlorine production process it is used, and then in electronics and electrical switches. Okay, mercury wetted switches are used. Okay, it is because mercury is a good conductor of electricity and it also has low resistance, thus it will pave way for reliable electrical connection. So these are the applications of mercury. Moving on, solution to mercury pollution. We must have to address the problem, right? So what are all the solutions that are there? First thing is mercury removing filters. This is under research. These filters are under research and many companies are investing in this research to design and deploy filters which will filter industrial emissions, wastewater treatment and consumer products. Okay, from all these materials, mercury pollution will be removed, and these filters could selectively capture and absorb mercury particles. That is there. And then there is another important process called phytoremediation. What is phytoremediation? It will use plants to absorb and accumulate mercury from water, soil, or even from atmosphere, from air or any other sediments, and these plants where there is accumulation of mercury will be later disposed of safely. Okay, so it will be harvested and safely disposed of for effective removal of mercury from the environment. So this process is called as phytoremediation. So when a living plant is used for removal of contaminants from air, water, soil through these living plants, that is called as phytoremediation. Okay, what other solutions do we have? Implementing plant gold program. This was the program which we discussed in the first slide, the program which is being initiated or which is being implemented by United Nations Development Program, okay, which is led by United Nations Development Program. So it seeks to eliminate mercury from artisanal gold mining and create safer worker conditions for those artisans, and then it operates under Minamata Convention, that is also there. Next, this program, this Planet Gold program, is being funded by Global Environmental Facility. In one of our sessions, I have talked in detail about this Global Environment Facility. You can have a look at it. And then this program, the Planet Gold program, provides financial and technical support to help miners transition away from mercury use. So miners have to transition away from mercury use and adopt any other technologies for extracting gold. Next, Planet Gold's mercury free processing plant is there in Burkina Faso. Where is Burkina Faso located? It is actually a country in West Africa. Okay, and this serves as a model for transitioning away from mercury. Okay, so all these points are very important from your exam point of view with respect to mercury pollution, Minamata Convention, and other details are there. Okay, yes. So the next topic for the day is surge in methane levels. Okay, so when there is surge in methane levels, what will be its consequences, that we have to see. So the consequence that they are discussing here is climate change. Okay, so surge in methane levels is going to aggravate climate change. Okay, it is going to fasten climate change. So that we need to know. Let us get into the details. The surge in methane levels in Earth's atmosphere has raised concerns about planet's ongoing climate transition. There is climate transition, and this methane level increase is going to affect it. How is it going to affect? Let us understand. We all know that methane is a potent greenhouse gas. Yes, it is a greenhouse gas which is increasing in its amount, which means it is growing. And it raises questions about whether Earth is undergoing termination level transition. What is termination level transition? This can be a potential question either in your mains or even in your prelims. Okay, termination level transition. We already know transition means change. Climate change is going to happen, but how termination level transition is going to happen, and what is the characteristics of termination level transition, that we need to know. Okay, such termination level transitions have occurred in the past also. So there has been climatic shifts that has taken place. Next is the concept of termination level transition refers to significant abrupt shift in Earth's climate from one state to another. So there will be significant and abrupt shift. Okay, so the best example for this is termination of ice age. That is the best example that we are going to discuss. So these transitions are marked by rapid and substantial change in various climatic factors. So it will have consequences on planet's ecosystem. Weather patterns will be hugely affected, and then there will be disturbance in overall environmental stability. All these consequences are there when there is rapid and substantial change in climatic factors. Next, Earth's climate has undergone termination level transition throughout history. So in the past, there has been many termination level transitions have taken place in the past. Okay, so these transitions are often associated with end of ice age. This is the best example that we are seeing here. What is ice age? Ice age was in the Pleistocene epoch. Okay, so what is the period of Pleistocene epoch? It is spanning from approximately 2.6 million years ago to 11,700 years ago. That period is ice age. Okay, so 11,700 years ago we experienced termination of ice age. So after termination of ice age, there was subsequent shift to warmer glacial periods. This we experienced. Okay, so there was warmer phase. From ice age to warmer phase, there was a sudden and abrupt change, and this has caused many changes in our climate. Okay, so there are various factors like change in ocean currents and atmospheric composition which will trigger termination level transition. So methane level rise will directly affect atmospheric composition. How is it going to be affecting it? That we'll see. Next, before getting into further more details, let us understand what is methane. Okay, the basics of methane. Methane is the simplest hydrocarbon. What is methane? CH4, right? So its structure is like this, CH4. One carbon atom and then 4 hydrogen atoms. This is methane. Okay, and it is a flammable compound, and it is used as a fuel worldwide, and then it is a powerful greenhouse gas like we discussed earlier. And see this, it has more than 80 times the warming potential or power of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is also a potential greenhouse gas, but this methane has 80 times the warming potential of carbon dioxide. Okay, over the past 20 years of its lifetime in atmosphere. Next, roughly 3/5 of methane emission comes from fossil fuel burning and farming and landfills and waste. So these are the reasons for methane emission in environment, and the remainder is from natural sources like vegetation rotting in tropical and northern wetlands. So vegetation rotting is also one of the reasons for methane emission. And other reasons are fossil fuel burning, farming, landfills and waste. Okay. Next, methane threatens warming limits. How is methane surge is going to threaten warming limits? First thing is, it is a potential greenhouse gas. Okay, so it is much more effective in trapping heat than carbon dioxide. This we saw earlier. And then it has a shorter atmospheric lifespan when compared to carbon dioxide. So its lifespan is just a decade. Okay, 10 years. But then carbon dioxide's lifespan is century. Okay, number of centuries. Next, while this methane is present in smaller quantities, though it is present in smaller quantities, its heat trapping capacity is approximately 28 to 36 times than that of carbon dioxide. Okay, so they are comparing methane and carbon dioxide here. And then methane was 0.7 ppm in the air before humans started using fossil fuels. Okay, before humans started burning fossil fuels, the composition of methane in the air was just 0.7 parts per million, but now at present it has been increased to over 1.9 ppm and it is still rising. Okay, so this is a major environmental concern. Next, what are all the challenges in limiting this warming? Okay, already warming is happening, but we need to limit it. But there are challenges associated to it. What are they? So, when there is methane level rise, it will complicate the efforts to limit global warming to safe levels. Yes, that is there. And when there is increase in methane level, it will contribute to overall greenhouse gas effect and it will also aggravate temperature rise and it will push the planet closer to dangerous temperature thresholds, obviously, and then it will also lead to further increase or release in methane. How this point is important? When there is methane increase, when there is increase in methane and when there is warming because of methane, then it will further increase the levels of methane. How is this going to happen? Because of thawing. What is thawing? Thawing means melting. Okay, so thawing of permafrost and melting of Arctic ice. So okay, so these permafrost and Arctic ice are reserves of methane. Okay, methane is there underneath. When there is melting of these water bodies, the ice, there will be release of methane further and it will amplify the warming effects in our atmosphere. Okay, so this is how it is linked. Such points are important from your exam point of view. Next, what are all the effects of increase in methane level on ecosystem? First thing is, it will affect the natural processes and the biodiversity will also be affected, and particularly there are certain vulnerable ecosystems like wetlands which are sensitive to methane related changes. So such ecosystems will be directly affected. Next is, there are implications for sea level rise. Because it has warming potential, there will be melting of ice and glacier. Like we saw in the previous slide, there will be melting of ice and glacier, which will again lead to release of furthermore methane, which again has higher warming potential. So it will contribute to sea level rise. So when there is sea level rise, obviously it will threaten coastal communities and it will aggravate the impacts of climate change. Okay, so coastal communities will be affected by this sea level rise. Next is, what are all the efforts taken to control methane? First thing is Harida. This is actually an Indian effort, Indian initiative. So which is the organization or the research center which has created this? It is Indian Council of Agriculture Research. They have developed this Harida. What is this Harida? It is actually a food supplement. Food supplement to whom? To the cattle. Okay, so it is anti-methanogenic, which means it will reduce methane generation or methane emission. So reduction in methane generation or methane production is called as anti-methanogenic. So anti-methanogenic food supplement, it is called as Haridara. Okay, so what is its aim? Its aim is to cut down the cattle methane emission by 17 to 20 percentage, and it can also result in higher milk production. How is it going to cut down the methane emission, and how is it going to improve milk production? That we need to understand. Before that, methane production in cattle. How is methane production happening in cattle? Okay, in cattle there is a particular part in its stomach called as rumen. Okay, so rumen is the first part of the 4 stomachs that the cattle has. So if you see the picture, you will understand it better. See in this, the entire thing is stomach. This entire thing is stomach, and then comes the intestine part. So within stomach there are 4 different parts in a cattle. First one is rumen, next is reticulum, and then comes omasum, and then comes abomasum. Okay, so these are the 4 parts, and this is the part which we are focusing on, rumen. Okay, so in that rumen only there is creation of methane. How? All the plant material, cellulose, fiber, starch and sugar which is being consumed by the cattle will be fermented and broken down by microorganisms before they get digested and their nutrition is being absorbed. They will be fermented. Where is this fermentation is happening? It will happen in the rumen. Okay, the first part of the stomach. Okay, and this carbohydrate fermentation, all these are carbohydrates, right? Plant material, cellulose, fiber, starch or sugar, they are all carbohydrates. When there is fermentation of carbohydrates, then it will lead to production of carbon dioxide and hydrogen. Okay, so carbohydrates are going to get fermented and they are going to produce carbon dioxide and hydrogen. Okay, and when carbon dioxide and hydrogen is reduced, which means when carbon dioxide is reduced, there will be production of methane, and this is affected by the use of microbes called archaea. It is a type of bacteria, we can say. Okay, so it is present in the rumen to produce methane. Again, it happens in the rumen only. This fermentation happens, and also this conversion of reduction of carbon dioxide into methane also happens in the rumen only. Okay, so this is how there is methane production in cattle. Okay, within the stomach of cattle there will be methane production, and these methane will be released from the cattle. So cattle play a major role in methane production. Next, this Haridara, we saw, right? Haridara is the food supplement. So it decreases the population of protozoa microbes in the rumen. Okay, these protozoa microbes are the one which is responsible for the fermentation, the breaking down of the food particles, and it will lead to hydrogen production. Okay, that protozoa microbes will lead to hydrogen production, and this hydrogen is made available to this archaea, which is again present in the rumen for reduction of carbon dioxide to methane, like we saw in the previous slide. Okay, so this Haridara food supplement is going to impact these microbes. So when these microbes are impacted, then there won't be production of hydrogen. When there is no production of hydrogen, there won't be conversion of carbon dioxide into methane. Okay, so this is how they are going to interfere in that process. Okay, and it has been made from tannin-rich plant-based sources. Okay, so these Haridara is being made from tannin-rich plant-based sources. And what are these tannins? They are bitter and astringent chemical compounds which are known to suppress and remove protozoan from the rumen. Okay, so these protozoans are suppressed or they are removed from the rumen because of this tannin compounds, which is an essential compound of this Haridara. Okay, next, fermentation after the HD will be helpful in production of more propionic acid. So what is the role of propionic acid here? We already saw that this supplement will also lead to higher milk production. So how? through propionic acid production. This propionic acid will provide more energy for lactose production. What is lactose here? Milk sugar is called as lactose. So there will be more lactose production and there will be weight gain in animals. Okay, so they will be healthy here. So this is how this food supplement is going to help to reduce methane and also to improve milk production. It is actually an initiative of Indian government. Next, there are certain global efforts. First thing is Methane Alert and Response Team. What is this Methane Alert and Response Team called MARS? It will integrate data from a large number of existing and future satellites. There are existing satellites and there will be future satellites, and the data from these satellites will be collected. Why? To send out notifications to relevant stakeholders to act on it. So they will be giving data about the methane production. Okay, where is methane production there? Which area or which region is affected by large methane production? Such details will be given to governments and they will have to take relevant actions against it. Next is Global Methane Pledge. This is a recent thing which happened in 2021. So nearly 100 countries had come together to voluntarily pledge. When was this done? It was done during the Conference of Parties 26th Conference of Party in the year 2021. Conference of Parties of which convention? Of UNFCCC. What is UNFCCC? United Nations Framework Convention of Climate Change. Okay, so United Nations Framework Convention of Climate Change had a Conference of Party, 26th Conference of Party in Glasgow, and in that conference only they have taken this pledge called Global Methane Pledge. So what is the pledge actually? To reduce methane by at least, methane emission by at least 30% by the year 2030. From which levels? 2020 levels. So from 2020 levels, they will be reducing methane emission by at least 30% by the year 2030. Okay, but is India a part of this pledge? No, India is not a part of this pledge. This is also important from exam point of view. And there is also yet another initiative called Global Methane Initiative. What is this Global Methane Initiative? They are going to use methane as a cleaner energy source. Okay, so the conversion process is focused here. So they focuses on reducing barriers to recovery and use of methane as a cleaner energy source, and it is a public-private partnership initiative. Okay, so these are the initiatives to control methane release or methane emission. Okay, so I hope you liked the video and it was informative, I guess. Let us see in the next class. Thank you.